So global deployment models really view the world of outsourcing, of shared services, of service delivery transformation in 3 states. The first one here, call it local, distributed, decentralized. This is typically the way most companies start out. Very decentralized by country, by functions, very siloed. And again, if you think about this continuum from a perspective of processes, technology, controls, risk, and cost, you go from very decentralized to more centralized, and you go from high cost to lower cost as you get along that journey. The next step in the transition is a regional model, and I've shown 4 models, or 4 regions of the world here. Typically, our clients think of it this way. And Asia Pacific and EMEA. And then traditionally, the Americas has been split into North America and Latin America. And this conference is really about thinking of the Americas more holistically, and our clients are absolutely thinking about the Americas as one region now, and that's a major shift. That's a major shift I know that we've talked a lot about and speakers have talked about. And then the evolution to a hub and spoke model, where regional centers, but moving highly transactional processes to a low-cost, global location, transactional location. And that hub is typically in India, that hub may be in Asia, that hub may be in Manila, typically Kuala Lumpur. Depending on what it is, it could be in an even lower cost location, depending on the nature of the work, the language skills, the risk taking on the client's part. Latin America, for us, for Deloitte Consulting and the work that we do, it's the hottest market that there is. And again, it buttresses the topics that we've been talking about. We do surveys of activity for shared service, service delivery transformation, outsourcing, and well over 25% of the activity that our clients have mentioned is focused on Latin America and Latin America solutions. So it's really, as I've said, the last frontier. Companies tackle North America, EMEA, and Asia Pacific. They're now focused on Latin America. Big growing markets, but simply lacking shared services or outsourcing strategy for centralizing things, lacking a comprehensive strategy. The business case is very elusive, as I've said, for Latin America. And that's a function of the cost being so cheap and variable across Latin America. I mean, you can get cheaper costs by moving things from Brazil to other countries, but it's hard when you do a business case with the one-time cost of transferring that work, severing people, et cetera. It's hard to make that business case work. And I've worked on those business cases, a number of them in the past couple of years. It's very, very difficult across the entirety of Latin America to centralize to get lower cost structure.
Good afternoon. I'm Simon Gauthier. I'm the CIO at the Inter-American Development Bank. And I was asked to share some of the thinking that led us a few years ago, 3 years ago, to outsource some of our internal IT to TCS. TCS ended up winning the contract. First, a bit about the IDB. We are the leading source of funding for economic and social development in Latin America. We have 26 country offices throughout the region. And as CIO, my role is to provide all internal services that allow the bank to operate and the likes. Up until 2008, we were a shop who provided services totally internally. We were using a combination of staff and staff augmentation firms, basically based in DC. And with the cost of labor arbitrage and all this, it became quickly, that service delivery model was just not sustainable for the long run. So we looked at outsourcing, and also we had a long discussion as to where should outsourcing take place. I can this morning David Spielberg mentioned that two factors that are absolutely critical in building a successful outsourcing relationship is time zone or time difference and cultural alignment. I cannot endorse these words more. The big driver became how do we keep supporting or meeting the needs of the bank in a way with the types of service that is aligned culturally with the organization. We wanted the service provided within plus or minus 3 hours of the time zone in Washington, D.C., and the service had to be provided in Spanish, English, and Portuguese. We're still young at this. We've only been, by the time the selection process was completed and the transition was done, it was 2010. So we are in year 3 of this process, of this relationship, and but I think so far it's like we're still in the. I'm not sure if we're still in the honeymoon phase, but we're still talking to each other, and the process has gone extremely well. Another point I'd like to endorse that was mentioned earlier this morning. I think it's you cannot manage a outsourcing relationship based on a contract. I think if it is a true relationship, there has to be give and take on both sides. And even if the mindset of the service provider versus the user is somewhat different, I think good communication, as this was enforced, and really moving as true partners towards the end goal is the way to work. And I give credit to TCS. So far, they've been able to match our expectations on this front.
My name is Sridhar Venkataraman, and I've been working in the Latin America region for the last 6 years, and our company is one of the companies which has been pioneering in nearshoring for the last 10 years or so. So I just wanted to share with you some of the important aspects of making a nearshore a good global delivery model. And whenever we talk about nearshoring, the first question always people ask is that, which country? And generally we don't look at LATAM as a region. We want to say whether can I do this in Argentina? Can I get SAP people in Mexico? Can I do BPO in Colombia? So we generally tend to spend more time on understanding the countries rather than understanding some of the other important aspects which I wanted to dwell upon. One of the important aspects is that the global delivery model, like most of our projects at this moment what we are executing are global in nature. So we cannot say that okay, I will execute only from US or Mexico or Argentina. You have to have a project executed from 3-4 locations at the same time. So you have to look at how well you can integrate all the deliveries. How can I make a global delivery model, or how can I make a global network delivery model? So that's one of the aspects you may want to focus on whenever you think about nearshoring. That's one of the important aspects which beyond the time zone, beyond the BCP, beyond the cost arbitrage, the global network delivery model is very important whenever you embark on a nearshoring or global shoring. Governance of these projects or governance mechanism is one of the key aspects which you may always want to focus whenever you embark onto the nearshore operations. And the other thing which Latin America has got a great, excellent talent pool workforce, but their exposure to the global market is limited to some extent. They are very good. You can find a very good Java developer. You can find an excellent Oracle DBA. But their experiences is more domestic. So when they started working for companies like US companies where a lot of other factors are also, it's not only your skill on Java or your skill on Oracle is important, also your communication skills and also your awareness about the security, those things are also important. So to make a successful global delivery model, it's not only the country location, it is also the governance, how integrated delivery model you are able to create and how well the processes are tailored to make it as a global network delivery model. And another last important factor is that how well your organization is also matured to use a nearshore operations. A lot of times, the organization may not be mature, but you try to embark on a global in a nearshore operations with China, India, Mexico, Hungary, then it's going to be a little chaotic. So always look back to your organization and do some developments in your organization or create some process maturity in your organization before embarking into the nearshore model.
Okay, Sridhar, thank you very much. So I want to start with you, Mark. One of the things I too have been hearing, especially from the captive side around Latin America, can be very hot. It's probably the hottest area in the market we cover. Relative to that, and for organizations that are trying to decide, is it better to set up a captive center versus outsourcing to a third party in Latin America? You know, they've already reached the point, they know that the insourcing isn't working for whatever reason. They know they're ready to commit to resources outside of their organization or through a captive. What unique factors need to be considered in that journey toward, you know, whether to use third party, whether to go captive?
Sure. I would look at 4 factors that our clients typically look at, and that's part of what we do at the front end strategy is to look at do alternative delivery, and then is it outsourced or is it a captive? And the cost structure is always up there. I don't care what anybody tells you around customer service or capabilities, cost is there. They need to reduce their cost, and their cost is a function of labor cost arbitrage, so location is one of the pieces that comes into that network. And it's also about how efficiently it would be done as a captive or a vendor, and what does a vendor bring to that? And of course, vendors bring infrastructure, they bring experience, they bring a quick mobilization to get it done and get it done very quickly. Capabilities is very important. So as our clients look at the internal option of a captive, they look at their scale of the operation, they look at can they actually manage this? Can they manage it remotely? Yeah, I think the ability of a company, a North American company, to do a captive, whether it's Latin America or any place internationally, part of it's how international is that company and how used to are they operating internationally. And there are some companies that don't have a very big footprint on a global basis or an international. So it's sheer folly to think that they're going to just march into a country that they have little experience with, and especially a country where they don't have current operations, and to create a center from nothing virtually. So a big challenge.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Simone, I think something I'd love to hear some of your thoughts about are, and it's a theme that we probably want to talk more about for the rest of the day, because it's really a prevailing issue throughout our industry, is this constant discussion of innovation. You know, is my third-party provider going to provide the innovation I need? Are they supposed to divine in their head where my organization needs new ideas? And we talked about this a little bit last night, but at least in your own practical experience, where does the innovation spark begin?
As I mentioned earlier, we've been at this only now for 3 years, right? But we're at the point now where we've looked at our processes. We're streamlining the best we can. But I was expecting initially, when we engaged into this relationship, that the innovation would come from the service provider only. I think the reality is the innovation comes from a close partnership when you work closely together and share ideas and discuss the processes as a team. Then new ideas come through. I think if we found, at least initially, that just waiting for the service provider to suggest A, B, C, and D, and you send back and do a bit of window shopping, right? Picking up ideas what really suit best does not really work well.
Sridhar, I'd love to hear your ideas on that relative to being a provider and a partner. So where does when you see an opportunity to generate greater value for the client, where does that all come from? Where do those ideas come from?
Yeah, definitely the ideas come from sort of a joint partnership, as Simone mentioned, and the most important thing is that a lot of times the innovation is not bringing something new out of the world or something. A lot of times it is bringing the best practices from the experience in the industry. Like whenever we work with any of our customers, we look at the customer's processes and find out, okay, you are doing these three things. Maybe instead of doing these three things, this is how we are doing in some other places. So how do I can bring that efficiency into your place? How I can bring the new things, what we are doing in other places into that place. So that's where it's more of understanding your customer. Then only the innovation comes in. Like I cannot come and suggest to a customer saying that, okay, whatever you're doing is not correct. You have to do something a little more innovative, this, that may not work. So always you have to understand what the customer is doing, how I can bring in the innovation without much disturbing the existing processes.
And let's explore another thing, Sridhar. I continue to be, a lot of people can still consider Tata an Indian organization. Is that a fair characterization?
It's maybe the
Good question.
It's a very difficult question sometimes. Like we have for example, in Latin America, we are one of the largest employer in many countries. For example, Uruguay, we are one of the largest IT employer. In Ecuador, one of the largest employer. So we don't consider ourselves as an Indian company. We consider ourselves as a global company.
Simone, I think especially for CIOs in our market today, there's nothing more valuable than having measurements, tangible data to say this was a strategy we deployed. Here's some data to prove out the success or lack of success. And there's CIOs, I'm sure the audience is familiar with CIO dashboards and lots of data now that CIOs are held against. Relative to measurement of, so maybe we again talked a little about the help desk portion of your outsourcing. Can you share a little bit about some data on that relative to performance?
Our cost per seat in 2010, our cost per seat was $14,000 per individual per seat. And it's now, last year, it was down to 11,000. It went down like $3,000 in about 2 years, which is very, very significant. The help desk, we're a small organization. We only have roughly 3,000 employees, 2,000 in DC, 1,000 spread in the region. And typically, on a typical day, our call center gets between 4 to 450 calls. The bank's users are not necessarily keen with the self-service. They like to be able to talk to individuals. And in all fairness, nobody really cares where the service is from. They don't care if it is an Indian company or who owns the company. But what they do care is that the service be provided in the language of their choice, which we do today, and in a way with the same type of values and empathy that they themselves feel and share.